I call to order this meeting of the Warren County School Board for Thursday, May 8th, 2014. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is to accept or modify the agenda. Is there a motion?
Madam Chairman, I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Community participation. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? Okay. We come to this portion of our meeting that is set aside for public comments. Any member of the public with comments on any item on the board's agenda or with any information they would like to present, come to the lectern. State your name and address for the record. Print your name on the list of speakers sheet for the clerk, and you will have 3 minutes to make your comments. While the board welcomes and encourages your input, this may be the first time your information has been presented to the board. Please do not expect individual responses or any comment by the board at this time. Be assured that any concerns will be reviewed.
Do I write my name down first? Or?
That's fine.
Okay, sorry. Good evening. My name is J.R. Rollison. I'm with the IBEW Local 26 and a 10-year instructor for my union. I've been teaching from front row for 7 years now, and we're gracious enough that you guys lend us your class to do this. My concern is tonight that the program needs funding. Funding in the ways of obtaining electrical trainers for the students that would be of use of them in their theory applications through their curriculum. They need to have decent hand tools, the ones that we have on the job sites that we all use. They need power tools. They need equipment to safely move around their conduit now, since they have now got a tremendous amount of conduit. They need PPE for part of their curriculum to identify the suits that we put on every day. They need transformers to participate or to demonstrate the skills of hooking up a transformer, basically all commercial equipment. I have emailed all industry manufacturers and trying to lend help on the equipment side to donate to Blue Ridge Technical Center. I'm concerned because the students, when I get them, are 19, 20 years old, and they're very weak in their skills. And I feel the program needs to expand from just solely on residential and go to commercial, industrial aspects, because that's where the money is going to be made at once they graduate. And also, it would help with the attitudes. You will retain your classes. Instead of having one third-year guy in a class full of second-year students, that tells me what happened to his peers. And I feel that for the kids, it would be fun. They can come into a professional classroom, have professional equipment, and learn. Some of them have a hard time learning on books alone. That's where the trainers would come in handy. They can visually see what electricity can do and how we can control it. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you.
As you know, I'm Kim Oakland. I'm here on behalf of the Warren County Education Association, and I just wanted to thank you all for taking the time to look at the budget and look at things that you could do. And I realize that Richmond is still not making any decisions, but we appreciate the fact that you went to the Board of Supervisors, and we appreciate the fact that the Board of Supervisors realized that we need to think about what we can do to keep and train quality people here. So I wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the board? Okay. Presentations, kids voting. Michael Waters.
Good evening.
Evening.
Good evening.
Now, good evening. Superintendent McGinnis, members of the board, Chairwoman Bauer. I'm Mike Waters. I'm Chair of Kids Voting of Warren County, and I want to thank you for allowing me to once again recognize some Warren County public school employees for the work that they have done to make kids voting in Warren County successful. First, I want to thank you again for your support as individuals and as a board. To help us get out into the community this year a little bit more, as a result of financial donations and a grant we received, we were able to have produced our first Kids Voting of Warren County brochure. You got one, good. I have plenty. On Election Day 2013, Kids Voting of Warren County had 914 voters cast their ballots. This is our best total in a year that was not a presidential election since 2007 when I started doing this. The reason that we were able to be this successful is because of the people that Kids Voting of Warren County wants to recognize tonight. First, I want to thank Deb Drescher, the Warren County Public Schools representative to our Kids Voting Board. She makes contacts in the school system for us. She listens to my ideas, reads my mind sometimes, and it is the reason that we're able to select the Teacher of the Year. Just to name a few things that she does for kids voting, and I thank her for all that she does. The next recognition that I would like to make is the Warren County Public School with the highest percentage of kids voting in the kids voting election voters in last year's election. This year, with 21.7% of the students voting, the banner stays at Hilda J. Barber Elementary School. And I'll show you the banner and have Principal Waters come up and accept our certificate. Thank you very much. Thanks for getting me out. See how long I There you go now.
All right.
Now, you brought it in all rolled up. Can you roll it up again? Maybe I can do it real quick. I think somebody else did that last year. Thank you. Next, I would like to recognize the teacher with the highest percentage of voters. From Hilda J. Barber, with 42.1% of the vote, Ms. Christy Lenz.
Hey.
There you go. See the names on there spelled out? Nice to meet you. This year, for the first time, we decided, because we can, to recognize and publicly thank a Warren County Public School staff person for their contribution to the Kids Voting of Warren County. Without this person, Kids Voting of Warren County wouldn't happen. We wouldn't know how many votes each candidate gets, and I wouldn't be able to give you the numbers that I've given you tonight. Whenever I call him with a computer concern, he takes care of the concern almost before I tell him what it is. It's my pleasure to publicly recognize our first, and probably not our last, Kids Voting of Warren County
Warren County Public Schools staff person. When I wrote that, I thought that was pretty long.
Say that 3 times.
Yeah. System technician Eric Jaworski. Unfortunately, Eric Jaworski is under the weather tonight and not able to be here, and I hate that, but I told him what I was going to say tonight, and I will make sure that he gets his awards that we're going to give him. Since 2009, we have selected a kids voting of Warren County Teacher of the Year. Some of those years we've selected co-teachers of the year, and that's what we did this year. This year it's kids voting co-teachers of the year, co-chaired the kids voting activities at their school. They organized and promoted kids voting by having an election for the top banana of their school. They had each candidate campaign, and the top banana that was selected dressed up like a banana and visited each classroom to dance. I'm not sure what the loser did, but anyway. This year, our kids voting co-teachers of the year, both from A.S. Rhodes Elementary, are Denise Klein and Mr. Richie Morris. Unfortunately, Miss Klein couldn't be here because of family obligations, but again, we'll make sure she gets her plaque and everything's coming to her. So now you can applaud. Thank you. Again, I want to thank you for allowing me to make these presentations tonight, and I thank you again for your support of kids voting of Warren County, and I'll see you at the polls.
Thank you, Mr. Waters, and congratulations to everyone.
Could I say something? Mike has been, as he said, doing this for a number of years, and when it gets close to voting time in particular, I mean, I think he's like a regular school board office employee. We see him as much as we see everybody else, and again, I'd like to thank you for all the time that you personally put in, because it is a lot of time, and helping our young people learn what voting is about, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. I definitely don't do it alone, so thank you. I appreciate it.
But we couldn't do it without you either.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Reports. Instruction report, Mr. Drescher.
Good evening. For the instruction report tonight, we just have one item. And I'd like to introduce Julie Brightbill, who is a teacher at, come on up, who is a teacher at Brighter Futures, and she's going to talk with us tonight about a program she's doing with her students in robotics, which is in partnership with James Madison University. So, welcome, Julie.
Thank you for having me this evening, and I want to thank Mr. Hirsch for inviting me. It's quite an honor to be able to speak to you tonight. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. Then I want to share with you some of the things that I've been doing in the classroom with the robotics. Then I have a little clip to show you so that you can actually see the kids in action. And then I have a little demonstration to show you. However, Bot over here, who I've named, has been a little, acting up a little bit today, so we'll see if he'll actually perform for us. So, again, my name is Julie Brightbill. Currently, I am studying integrated STEM education at the University of, at Virginia Tech. STEM meaning science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I'm also studying education leadership at at James Madison University. I have been working here in Warren County for 3 years. I started here at Brighter Futures. I'm bringing a math background. I'm bringing a lot of different experience teaching in private schools and in other public schools. I thought I was well prepared to teach at Brighter Futures, and I was quite shocked that I wasn't prepared at all. I learned more from the students my first year than I think I was able to bring to them. The first year I learned from the students that they want to learn. I learned from my students that they want to be successful, but I also learned that they don't necessarily know how. And I also learned that They want what they're learning to be meaningful. They really make a good teacher out of you because it is very hard to hook them and encourage them in their learning. They come from all kinds of different backgrounds, which I'm sure some of you are familiar. And when I first started, I had a hook without a worm. They weren't interested. It was hard to get them motivated to listen and to learn math. Right around the same time, James Madison offered a robotics course, which I jumped on the opportunity, and thank goodness Warren County Public Schools supported me in going to that course. There, I learned about the Lego robotics, and I thought, what a wonderful opportunity, what a worm that I can put on that hook to interest the kids so that I can really get them involved with a hands-on type of project and bring them in so that we can talk about math, but not just math, but the science, the technology, so that I can better prepare them for the 21st century. I have a clip I'm going to show you in a few minutes of the students. But James Madison University, they donated to me because I talked with the instructor and I told him what I was doing. They're very involved in trying to get the Lego robotics out into the school systems and to involve it or to incorporate it in their curriculum. There were all kinds of students there studying all kinds of, teachers teaching all kinds of subjects. And of course, being math, I was like, this is perfect for me. When I spoke with the instructor, he was very supportive of the things that I wanted to do and was very supportive in the students, working with the at-risk students in what I was trying to do and accomplish. So he was so supportive, he offered me a ping pong size robotic table, challenge table, sent me back with a couple robotic sets and sent me back with the set for doing all the challenges. I thought Mr. Hirsch was going to think I was crazy. I was running and just stuffing this stuff in my van before he changed his mind, thinking, I haven't even talked to Mr. Hirsch. I have no idea what he's going to think when I show up with all this stuff in our small building. So luckily he was very supportive, gave me the room and the opportunity, and gave me the funding to buy 5 more kits of the robotics. So this past year, I've been working with James Madison, discussing with them how I want to incorporate the robotics with the SOLs, the math SOLs. Anything that I need with programming or design, they'll support me and help me with that. And this past year, it's in infancy stage right now. It's growing. This year I spent my time, and you'll see in the photos, just experimenting. What age groups, what different math subjects are going to blend best with it. I tried it out with geometry and Math 8 and just kind of testing the waters. It blew my expectations out of the water. I was shocked at the kids and their response and their enjoyment of it. So when you watch the film, I encourage you not just to see what they're doing, but look at their faces and notice and remember what kind of students we're talking about here. And, if a picture can tell 1,000 words, these pictures can tell 1,000 words. And while we're watching this, I'm going to be over here trying to see if I can get Bot to work for us. Hopefully he won't disappoint me. Can we turn the lights out, maybe? I'm going to shut everything down.
No, Mike's got it.
There we go.
One of the young ladies built this robot that I'm about to demonstrate. I was very proud of her. She was one of the students that started the robotics, and when I suggested it, very negative. She was like, I don't really think I want to do this. This doesn't seem interesting to me. Once she got started, it became so important to her. She worked through gym class to finish and meet that goal, and she was so proud of herself, to complete it and to see it running. This particular robot balances on 2 wheels. The program, the robot itself has a sensor in it so that it can tell whether it's tilting, and the program will tell the wheels to move in order to keep it balanced. I'm going to attempt to send the robot over this bridge. Take a few minutes to get started when we go. This is a color sensor that gives it different commands. And I'll be willing to answer any questions if you have any.
I have a few. I always have a few. You're our math teacher at
Yes.
Brighter Future.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
that's the subject you teach exclusively.
Yes.
Okay. And the grade level range of your students?
Math 8 to 12th grade.
Are they all
Eighth
in-
grade to 12th grade.
Are they all in the same class at the same time?
No, they're not.
They're in different
Yes.
sessions.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Now that program, does James Madison provide the program, or are these kids programming those?
Well, it's a wonderful activity that I can take kids from all different levels, all different learning levels. Basically, it comes with a kit and instructions to build different models, and it has a base software with it that can be modified. So, but what I'm trying to do with the math is maybe I want to do something with geometry, maybe something with triangles and finding, how all the angles add up to 180. I would talk to George Mason and James Madison. You got me on a roll. I went to George Mason too. That's where I got my math degree. But talk with James Madison, the instructor that I work there. Tell him a little bit about what I want to do. And he would say, oh, well, maybe we can construct this. Here's some ideas on, the software. He's actually provided me with some software with being able to rotate at certain angles so that I can teach the kids about angles. He's also given me a design where a robot actually draws things so that they can draw different figures like triangles and rectangles and things like that for geometry.
I loved your introductory remarks when you said that the first year you learn more about them than you think you even gave them, but you're to be commended for reaching out to something that is hands-on, that has meaning for them, that they could maybe explore in the future to teach them math. You're right. People don't know how difficult it is to reach a certain type of student. You have to really hook them, and I think you've done a great job.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Is there any other questions? Well, you know where to find me.
I just want to say thank you. I'm really enjoying these instructional reports and presentations, so keep them coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Autism Project Report, Mr. Hirsch.
Madam Chairman, Madam Superintendent, members of the board, it's always nice to come and talk about positive things, and there's plenty of positive things going on in Warren County Public Schools, as you can see. I was quite emotional, actually. The Autism Center for Excellence is a program, is a partnership with another one of our universities. I think we're very fortunate to be so close to so many great universities. This is a partnership with Virginia Commonwealth University. And I can sit and talk about the framework of the Autism Excellence Project, as you know, because our population is increasing significantly in special education. But I'm going to bring up one of our experts, if it's okay with you, to talk about some of the specifics of our autism program. We are not an infant autism program. We, in 2005, well, let me start in 2003, we started what's called the SCIP program, the Social Sensory Communication Integration Program, which I felt, and a lot of our peers in other counties felt, was very, very innovative. And we've done some very good things, great things, working with students in the general curriculum, not just in a self-contained classroom. In 2005, we received a grant from the Department of Education that took us to the next level as far as autism programs are concerned, and we actually got a Department of Education award in 2010. It's a 5-year project. We weren't done, and I want to bring up Gina Cornett, one of our occupational therapists, to talk about where we're going now.
Good evening. Thank you for listening to me this evening. As Michael said, my name is Gina Cornett. I am an occupational therapist here with the county. I was actually original member of that 2005 Autism Priority Project that we had, and this year we've done something a little different. Go ahead, click to the next one. Thanks. I just wanted to give you a brief overview of autism in Warren County. As of our December 2013 count, we had 101 students identified in the county who have a diagnosis of autism. This is where they break down as far as high school, middle school, and such, how many students per level. We do have 12 of those students who are served currently outside of the public school. That may be parental choice, that they are in a private school placement, or that they are at a facility such as Grafton or something of that sort. So, because we have such a large number of students, we did decide in January to apply. We actually decided in November, but we did apply in January for the second cohort of the ACE program, which is the Autism Center for Excellence. It's through Virginia Commonwealth University, but they have partnered with the Virginia Department of Education. This is their second cohort. Their first started about 3.5 years ago, and they had about 10 different school systems go through at that time. We are very pleased that we're in the second cohort because what we hear is that they learned a lot through the first one and they have made some modifications. What it is a 3-year partnership with VCU where they come and actually provide us with a primary person who supports us 50 to 75 hours a month and assists us with systems change for our students with autism. And that will affect students that are in self-contained classrooms, to inclusion settings, to just completely in regular ed without support at all. We did begin in March of 2014. We were one of the 6 selected this year, and so we did begin in March of 2014. These are the other counties or cities in the state that were chosen. Thought you guys might like to know that. The key outcomes, this NPDC is the National Professional Development Center on Autism Spectrum Disorders. The program is modeled after using an assessment that looks specifically at programs for children with autism, their environments that they're in, the supports that they should be having, and we are using that to assess our SCIP programs, which we have already actually completed. And these were the key outcomes of them using that assessment and working with different school systems across the country. These were the 4 outcomes that they saw. We obviously feel that we would like to have these outcomes as well. So the overall change in program quality, use of evidence-based practice, attainment of students' IEP goals, and expansion and sustainability. So in summary, we are just looking at our 3-year plan. Right now, we did just finish the assessment process looking at the SCIP programs. We are going to analyze that data at a conference that's in June and make plans as far as what our goals are, what we want to change over the course of the next 3 years. So, any questions?
Well, I certainly appreciate, everything you've done, and particularly applying for the grant and those kinds of things. But I think that when we started having students that were identified on the spectrum, that we didn't wait around as a school system to see what would happen and to see if we got a few more. We started addressing things right away. And the way we have chosen to address children that fall on this spectrum is to think of the children first. We always try to do what's in the best interest of our students, and I think this is a beautiful example of that we don't try to fit children into a mold, but to develop programs that meet their needs individually. And I know that's, we say that's what special ed is about, but it's not in all cases. But I certainly appreciate all the work that you and your colleagues have done to bring this program forward and continue it and improve it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And we are definitely very proud. We received the only 100% on our application ever submitted, and right now we're leading the way for responses across the county on our survey, so of all those 6 counties. So we're very proud of the work we've done so far.
Good, great, thank you.
Thanks.
Superintendent report.
These are hard acts to follow. I'm not sure I want to at this point. Actually, the only thing I have for you tonight, Mr. Ballantyne put at your place the end-of-year events, list of end-of-year events that will be happening in the next few weeks in all of our schools. We probably have missed something, but if you attend any or all of these, you will be very busy people. And you're certainly welcome to attend any of those. Also, the Warren County Educational Endowment is holding a thank you reception for people that have donated to the endowment over the years, and that will be on May the 14th. And I talked with all of you, and we look forward to seeing you there as well. And the only other thing I have is that just a little bit of information I heard this afternoon, actually when I checked my email when I came back to come to the meeting, from Bob Grimacy. And Bob Grimacy is the superintendent in Orange County, Virginia. And this past week was the state superintendent's conference, which I was unable to attend. And Bob said in his email that they were talking about me at the conference and saying that they thought I was the dean of the Virginia superintendents because I have the longest tenure in the same superintendency of 133 superintendents in the state. I'm not sure what that means or says, but I do know that Ed Hattrick, who's the superintendent in Loudoun County, who's retiring this year, he and I are currently the only 2 superintendents in our 20 superintendent region that are the same as when I started being a superintendent in 2001. And then he's leaving me, so I just thought that was an interesting bit of trivia, and thought it was real interesting they were talking about me behind my back. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you.
That'll show you never miss a meeting.
There you go.
There you go, right.
Board reports, Mr. Boyles.
First, I'd like to say is acknowledge that this is National Teacher Appreciation Week, and I wanted to take the opportunity to acknowledge our teachers and let them know that this board greatly appreciates them and that we definitely treat them as our greatest and best asset. I went on the Warren County Public School website, and the last 2 times I was on there, I saw a caption on there that the website is under construction, and I was wondering, what are we doing, and when do we think it'll be complete?
I don't know, Melody?
We formed a website website advisory committee. Jim Wells is part of that committee, and we are actually working on our websites currently. So probably most of the work will be done over the summer, and they should be complete by fall.
Okay, because some of the school sites had more information than others, and I didn't know exactly what the construction was and how that was progressing, but
It's consistency. It's making sure our staff directories are aligned and have all the information that people need, making sure that our images change on a regular basis, as long as the news information on the left-hand side of the screen. So it's multiple things that we're
Great.
looking at. So
great.
I think the list is about 4 pages long.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, we had well, not we, Ms. Shepherd and Mr. Grant really have done yeoman's work along with some of their IRT folks, but they also brought in some parents, and just one of the things they did was give them sort of, not really a scavenger hunt, but just a list of things to go and find and see how user-friendly it was, and they brought back suggestions and that kind of thing, and those are the types of things that are being addressed. Again, like Ms. Shepherd says, consistency, that each school has the same information in the same spot, and it's called, even what it's called sometimes we found to parents is confusing, and what we think would go under a parents tab really they feel like should go under a student tab. That's where they'd be looking for it. So just trying to get a user's view of how useful we can make the website.
Good, that's just information I wanted to get out there for parents.
I think overall, the advisory committee was pleased with with the changes that were made. They just felt that there were a few additional changes that need to be made in order to make it a better site.
When you say the changes that have been made, that's as a result of our purchasing a service, correct?
That's correct.
And when was that?
That was a year ago.
Okay, so we're just tweaking it?
Yes. Like last week, 2 weeks ago, we had people translate to the website. So now people who want to see it in Spanish can view it in Spanish. So that was one of the recommendations.
Wow.
Or French.
Who does that?
Google.
Yeah, Google, but Tim actually is.
And the last thing I wanted to say is to pretty much thank War Memorial Hospital and all the staff people that are going to be involved. I believe that this Saturday is when physicals and some different things. I don't want to take Jim's comments that he was along those lines, but I also saw that volunteering applications for students wanting to learn more about volunteerism at War Memorial Hospital, they can actually get a civic seal on their diploma, and their applications are at guidance counselors' offices at the high schools. And that's some of the information of just going on the websites and looking at some of the information that was there, that and the dates and different things when these things come up, because it's hard to remember when these things come back around. So I at least wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. That's all.
Good, thank you. Mrs. Sharefko?
Well, I also wanted to thank all of our teachers for their hard work. Teaching is not an easy job by any means, and we appreciate everyone's dedication, and we do enjoy the presentations that we had tonight. It's always great to see the innovative practices our teachers are using to increase student achievement, and we appreciate the fact that they do not want to remain stagnant. They want to do whatever it takes to help students learn.
Thank you. Mr. Wells?
I'll add to that. And until about 5 minutes into my college career, appreciation of teachers was not a adjective I would have used, but we do appreciate everything they do. They're the folks who get our students ready. Mr. Rawlson talking about vocational technical programs, brighter futures, just all of that stuff, and it's just heartening the last couple of years to see how our teachers have gone outside the scope of the system and look for grants, look for projects, look for educational opportunities and that kind of thing. And that's what's beginning to make this system one of the better known systems around the state. The other thing, Mr. Boyles mentioned it, I just wanted to also mention on May the 10th at 11 o'clock, Warren Memorial Hospital, the Warren Memorial Hospital staff, and particularly Skyline Family Practice staff, have been doing, I don't know how many years this makes, but they will be doing the Virginia High School League physicals. The fee is $20, and the time schedule and that type of thing are available, I believe, on the website, and it's just a great opportunity to get that physical done, and done in a very timely manner, so that they can start their athletic year, because for a lot of them, their athletic year starts about 5 minutes after school's out this year, and they're just dedicated to it, but we want them to be as safe as possible. And then he also mentioned the volunteers, and I'll mention one other Valley Health Warren Memorial initiative, and that's Camp Med, which will be held this summer, and I do not know the dates, but you can find that either on valleyhealthlink.com or on the Warren County School, and that's a week-long camp at the hospital where they learn hands-on medical programs and skills and that type of thing.
We received brochures to send to the schools today.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Thank you. Ms. Anything? Do you have anything? I know I'm catching you right as you walk in. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
Just that I just came from the middle school where the National Junior Honor Society induction took place, and just an interesting fact, they said that they inducted, there were 24 sixth graders, 24 sixth graders and 16 seventh graders. It's the largest group that they have inducted in the years that they've been conducting it. So anyway,
great.
It was enjoyable, and but I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate your indulgence allowing me to be late.
Well, glad you made it on time. And the only thing I have to report, well, I also want to say thank you to our teachers. I know what you all do is above and beyond. I have a mother that was a teacher for 33 years, and I have a daughter that's a teacher, and it's not an 8 to 4 job, and it's not just about teaching the kids. The love and care you all show to the kids, it's amazing, because some of those kids don't get it anywhere else but at school. So it's very touching. I did attend the Young Heroes Award ceremony Saturday before last at Warren County Middle School, and then the dedication of the Project Fit playground, and that was a very nice afternoon. The weather was great, and it looked like all the kids were having a good time, and the adults too. And that's the only thing I have to report. Next on the agenda, presentations by staff. Approval of Special Education Annual Plan. Mr. Hirsch.
Madam Chairman, Madam Superintendent, members of the board, it's nice to have the opportunity to speak with you again. The time of year is for our where we apply for an application for federal funds, and that's what comprises our special education annual plan. It's comprised of 4 basic tenets. The first part of it is policy statements and assurances, which basically says that we are following the procedures and regulations put out by the Virginia Department of Education and the federal government under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. This includes how we address barriers such as gender, race, national origin, disability, and if you'll notice a typo on page 5, age, and that was left out of that. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Age is another barrier that we do address when we're making those assurances that we're carrying out the IDEA. The second part of the annual plan is a report on implementation. And that's where we'll report on what we did in the 2012-2013 school year with regards to special education, because that's the last year that we've completed. As far as the 2012-13 school year, this was comprised of those same tenets that we've just talked about. Compliance documents, policies and procedure changes, local special education advisory committee data. That is no longer required, but that was required in our 2012-13 year, and also local jail information. A pre-service academy was held for new teachers, administrators, and related services personnel prior to school starting with the general education folks, and this is an extended week where a variety of special education topics were covered, and staff members were further prepared to serve students with disabilities. The local advisory committee also accomplished a variety of things during the 2012-13 school year. Major projects included Special Olympics, an IEP mentoring team, which is in full swing right now, and a bylaws review. A variety of workshops were held, which included presentations by Ms. Carrie Ayers, Moms in Motion, on the top 10 questions to ask your case manager. Larry Ellen Randall, a founder and executive director of Starfish Savers on social skills training in the school day, also presented. Carol Olson presented on the Medicaid waiver updates and the ARC's New Virginia Way. And Alfred Chip White, an attorney in town, talked about special needs trusts. That concludes our implementation of the 2012-13 plan. We also had an interagency jail agreement, which is a partnership with the local Warren Jail as well as the Warren County Schools, and we provided education for inmates ages 18 till their 22nd birthday identified previously with disabilities. That is done in the local jail, which brings me to this year's interagency agreement. This year's interagency agreement is a little bit different. It includes the regional jail, and we'll be responsible for educating inmates ages 18 to 22 from Shenandoah, Rappahannock, and Warren County, so our numbers will triple, if not more than triple. And we're working very closely with the Department of Education to implement special education programs in the jails, and we will be ready to start in July. We're excited about that. The last is the application for federal funds. This year, we're applying for $1,153,728. $1,125,688 of that is for Part B. That's for K-12. The $28,040 is for Part C, which is our preschool, early childhood special education programs. So the total again is $1,153,728, which is what I'm asking that we apply for the federal government. This annual plan was put out for public comment on 3/24 through 3/27, and it was also reviewed by our Special Education Advisory Committee on April 21st. I like to get those things done prior to coming to you so I could make some changes if need be to reflect what the public has in mind. So this plan does reflect any input from the public. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
How will we be reimbursed for with the
Rappahannock and Shenandoah?
That's a great question. It actually is 100% reimbursable via the Virginia Department of Education, and the jail specialist, Ellen Harrison at VDOE, is wonderful to work with. I've been through multiple workshops with her over the years, and she is very, very easy to work with in creating innovative programs inside our jails. So we will be, to answer your question, we'll be reimbursed on a quarterly basis at 100% of what we spend, as well as the administrative time that I spend and my assistant spends working with the jail program.
And we have dedicated instructors that go to the jail, and
That is
they have the
correct.
classroom set up, and
That is correct. The classroom is set up.
It is. It's nice. I've seen it.
Pam has seen it.
Okay.
And we are, allocating a full-time position that will be housed in the jail, but supervised by the Special Services Department. And we'll be implementing some really innovative special education through, we're looking at Aztec software to do that. Not internet-based. They don't allow the internet in there. But some good software that can really address some of those needs.
so there is a need to have a full-time person there?
There is. There has not been in the past, but with the regional jail, with the 3 counties, we will have a full-time 12-month teaching position there.
What we are we're the fiscal agent for this program.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of the personnel and everything runs through us. And as Mike said, because we are serving 3 different counties now, that definitely requires a full-time position for the number of individuals that will be housed there, male and female.
Okay.
And because we've only been responsible up to this point for Warren County citizens that are in the jail programs, it's certainly increasing, and he's right, this is 100% reimbursable. What we will have to do, though, although we found out Mr. Ballantyne and I were talking today about the jail program. The amount of revenue listed in the new budget is not going to be enough to fund this program. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to go back for an additional appropriation from the Board of Supervisors revenue-wise, and then we'll also have to increase the expenditure line items, but it's a wash.
Okay. Why is the program 12 months?
Because the inmates don't have summer vacation. They're there all the time, and it's about recoupment. It's about filling in those gaps that those inmates have. And at the suggestion of the Department of Education people who said that most of their programs in the jails are 12 months, because they're not in jail all year long. Some inmates are in jail maybe just over the summer months, because I think the data suggests that most of the crime does happen in the summer and in the hot weather. Their goal is to educate them, because their protection under the IDEA does run out when they're 22.
And it is, it's not a diploma program. It's a GED program, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the only inmates who are eligible are special education inmates. We wouldn't educate an 18-year-old who didn't graduate from high school?
We won't. However, there is an educational program through the jail, and one of our opportunities is going to be to partner with the jail personnel and having our personnel work with the GED teacher that teaches the general education inmates to partner and create a program. And I think it's a real opportunity to do some dynamic things with some of those teachers. It's not just to pull out the tutorial program. We're gonna really do some good things. The last part of the annual plan is the set aside, which I talk about every year, and that's a calculation that we do we try to identify homeschool students that have disabilities, as well as private school students within the bounds of Warren County that have disabilities. And we do some math, and we come up with a set-aside dollar amount that we can spend in services. And we make a decision each year. I talk with the Special Education Advisory Committee, as well as the Special Services staff and general education staff, and figure out how we can get the biggest bang for our buck. We have about $30,000 in set aside. It's $29,538 in services that we can provide those students. Now, we generally provide a little bit more than that. We choose to provide hearing services, vision services, because of those low incident populations, as well as speech and language services, because we feel that that's where we can get the biggest bang for our buck. So that's when you'll see homeschool students, as well as private school students, coming into the school building before school or after school, and some of our speech pathologists are working with them, and our hearing impaired teacher, as well as our vision services, also provide supports to them. So that's our set aside, and it's we have to have a number per student. It's about $1,700 per student, but we cap it at about $29,000.
And they must come to us.
We try to negotiate that, absolutely. In some cases, we go to some daycare centers and where we find large pockets of people with speech, and we do some partnerships with them. We've had our hearing people go to the Montessori school, and as well as some of the other private schools in the community. We try to get, again, it's all about child find. It's about finding people with disabilities regardless of what school they go to, and providing what services we can to help bridge the gap.
This set-aside money is a required part of the application.
It is required.
We start screening children in pre-K?
We start child find. The regulations say 2 years old. We actually start screening prior. We work very closely with our partners, the Infant Toddler Connection, who are over there across from Joe's Steakhouse. We work very closely with them in identifying students at birth. And we work with Part C, and we've created, as you're all well familiar, the Innovative Bright Beginnings program, which serves infants with disabilities, from 18 months and sometimes younger until 3 years old, before they can transition into our center-based early special education programs. So this partnership with Part C and Northwestern has done a wonderful job in identifying them even earlier than 2. But by regulations, it's 2. But we try to get them as soon as they're born, because we know that early intervention and early screening, early intervention, and intense intervention is the way we can exit students out of special education and, again, bridge that gap.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Any questions?
It's not great. Thank you very much.
Well, he is
I
asking
believe
that
he's
for
going to stay.
approval, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I move that the board approves the 2014-2015 Special Education Annual Plan, which includes an application for federal funding in the amount of $1,153,728.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Hirsch. Stay where you are. Award contract for virtual learning program.
Just thank you again, Madam Chairman. This is just another opportunity that was illustrated so successfully today by the teachers and related services personnel of all the diverse things that the entire Warren County Public Schools Division is doing. One of the things that we do as well with our non-traditional students is have some virtual programming, and we have chosen, after significant research, to use the APEX program, and this is a comprehensive learning course that our contract is up this year, and we want to spend $19,412.50, which will include a one-day professional on-site training session. The program provides virtual learning classes for students at our alternative sites, our graduation opportunities, diversified minds, and brighter futures programs, but it also provides online classes for students that are receiving home-based and home-bound instruction, as well as students in both high schools. The high schools are using our APEX program more and more to when there's scheduling conflicts or course offerings that are not able to be offered on campus, we have this virtual approach, and it's been quite successful. We're purchasing 135 seats, and those seats have to be filled all the time. That number sounds small, but it's significantly more. And the cost is $19,000. Any questions about the APEX program?
We've used this before, right?
That is correct. We're currently using it now, and it's a wonderful program, and it actually has multiple facets. It can support students with disabilities, students without disabilities, students that are gifted and talented, and it really does a nice job diagnosing and a diagnostic of where students are at, and it teaches them at that level. And we don't use these independently. We use it with work that the teachers also provide. So it's a blended approach. Teachers, if a student is, let's say, getting home-based instruction for a medical reason or something, we'll provide some virtual opportunities for them. It can be done at home, or it can be done in a computer lab. And then we'll also support that with work that the schools provide from their curriculum.
It mentions course materials that are not included in the price that we pay. Do we ever purchase any of those ancillary materials?
We do.
Okay.
And that's in the alternative education budget.
Okay.
Explain again, you said
135 seats.
And we've had a conversation before where
You can serve more than 135
Yes,
students.
yes.
But you can only have 135 occupied.
One time.
At one time.
you can
At
only,
one time.
you can't have more than 135 students logged on at
Online
one
at once.
time.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah. So if you had, not that they run by periods, but really if you had 6 periods running a day, you could multiply 135 by 6, and there's your capacity.
Yeah, exactly. We've looked at the history over the past few years, and we feel we're very confident, even with an increase in usage, that this number will be good for us.
Okay.
What is included in the professional services?
The professional services, they come and do a one-day training, and where we can break it up into 2 half-day trainings, depending on the
For staff?
populations. For staff.
And they're already using this program, so do they not?
There are some new courses being offered this year, and some new teachers in the division that haven't received the training, and there's also some refreshers that the teachers can access, and we're going to coordinate 2 half-day trainings, which can really target some of those. There's some new courses being offered. Algebra function data analysis is now available through APEX, and we haven't been through that training.
Any other questions, comments? Is there a motion?
I move that the contract for learning comprehensive courses in the amount of $19,412.50 be approved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Hirsch.
Thank you.
And once more, acceptance of Autism Center for Excellence grant.
I'll do it.
Okay. Thank you.
The Autism Center for Excellence Grant Award, which is a 3-year award for the Virginia Department of Education sponsored partnership between VCU and Warren County Public Schools, including training, technical assistance, and collaboration and research that Ms. Gornett talked about earlier. We actually need the school board to accept the grant amount. It's just one of those formalities.
I move that the Autism Center for Excellence Grant Award be approved by the board.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. An award of service contracts. Mr. Riley.
Good evening. You have before you a summary of our service contracts that we award every year. For informational purposes, this will be our last year that we can renew. Next year, we'll be required to go out for sealed bids again. We're very fortunate that everyone is retaining their prices again this year. We only had 2 minor cost increases. One was with the dumpster service. They went up 2.8% based on their annual fuel cost, which I thought was pretty fair on their part, considering the volume of miles that they put in for us. The other increase was Best Exterminating. They utilized the 5% threshold. They stated their increase was due to increased chemical costs and also fuel, for traveling. Typically, on all the bids, I give you, the current year and the previous year. Apparently, I omitted some data on one of our bids, and I wanted to share with you what that one was. It's our security monitoring and fire monitoring services. I just put the current year total in there, what they're charging us for this year. There is really no increase in their fees. There is an increase from what we're paying them from last year due to the fact that we added an account. That's outside the scope of the bid. We added another physical building and another monitoring account to them. So that increased the rate that they charged us.
And what was it that we added?
Diversified Minds, the fire panel out there.
Okay.
So, through no fault of their own, their fee had to increase by that amount. Other than that, everything else, is pretty much same as it was last year. Be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Well, I don't understand then, what information is missing? Because you've got here,
Well, I stated that there was a price increase due to adding an account, but what you're seeing is what they're actually billing for this year. I didn't put what they charged last year.
oh,
See, last year their billing fee was $4,080 for the year. This year it's $4,308, and that's because we added Diversified Minds.
So next year it'll be 4,308?
Yes, starting July the 1st.
so it's not that right now, but it is that.
No, well, it is, they're billing us for it in the current contract.
Right.
So it's not
That's what
going
I
to
mean.
increase in the next contract?
That's correct.
Okay.
What the number that's
What
here.
we're paying is not going to be any different for next year because what we're paying this year includes the extra site.
That's correct.
And the service rate and the overtime rate are staying the same as well.
Staying the same, yes, ma'am.
All right.
Do all these vendors need to be read in the
Well, I think you can say
for
the clerk says you need to read them.
Yeah.
No?
for the vendors listed below?
I think if you just said as listed on
There
the
you go.
cover sheet would
I
cover
want,
that.
Mr. Brown, just a general question, not anything to do with the individual bids or anything like that, but the 15th Street building, I guess enough programs haven't gone in there to, like, for example, security. Are we going to continue to try and secure one section of the building and let the county secure the other, or are we going to try and just monitor the whole building and split the cost? Or
Currently, the building is split right in half. We're monitoring our side with the fire panel. Their side is not being monitored because it's not occupied and it's not under construction. So therefore, they're not required by the fire code to be monitored. But we are, because we have people in the building.
I don't know if, once they actually have office spaces in there, that may be one of those things that the county
Yes.
approaches us with to join, have a joint.
What do we do in this building? Are we responsible for our end
No,
of the
we are-
building only, or do we?
Well, typically you try to limit a single fire panel control for a building for ease of access, for informational purposes. They know where to go. They have a schematic of the building, tells you where to go, where your event is happening. If you have two individual fire panels, then it's really difficult for responders to ascertain where to go. So we've already had this discussion, on multiple levels about the level of coverage for that building once we're totally occupied. And I'm certain that it's going to be one fire panel. Either the county's going to pay for it from their side and monitor our side, or since we already have a fire panel in place, enlarge it to include their side, and then we'd pay it and be reimbursed for it. But I'm certain it's going to be one panel.
Okay.
I move that the service contracts be approved as submitted for the 2014-2015 school year beginning July 1, 2014 and ending June 30, 2015 for the vendors listed below.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Presentations by Superintendent. Acceptance of Front Royal Warren County Anti-Litter Council grant.
Warren County Public Schools has been awarded a $1,000 grant from the Front Royal Warren County Anti-Litter Council. The funds are to be used toward the purchase of 4 pet waste containers.
That's not supposed to be on there.
No, that isn't supposed to be.
That was left from the last time.
Okay, to purchase 4 pet waste containers that will be used on some of our school properties. Mr. Riley has been trying to monitor the pet waste. We have lots of walkers and people walking their dogs on our properties, and they haven't chosen to clean up after themselves, so we're trying to help them along. And the receptacles will be those that have, I guess, will the bags be available as well? Glad you didn't leave.
Who maintains those?
The county has them in almost all of their facilities right now. So
We will.
We got one at the
piggyback on
picnic table on this side of the building now.
Okay.
But again, we were able to get a grant from the Anti-Litter Council, and we'd like for you to accept that, please.
May I ask who wrote the grant?
I don't know the answer to the.
Ross.
Oh yeah, Brandy Rosser, who is the grant writer for the county, did that on our behalf.
Oh, great, great.
I move that the acceptance of the Front Royal Warren County Anti-Litter Council grant be approved.
Second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's see. Adopt resolution commemorating the 60th anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Brown versus Board of Education.
As you all are well aware, May 17, 2014 will mark the 60th anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Brown versus the Board of Education. While the historic decision repudiated the doctrine of the separate but equal, ruling that separate educational systems by their very nature could not be equal, Many areas of our nation are still struggling with the vestiges of segregation. The ruling is worthy of continued reflection as public schools strive to make a world-class education available to all children, regardless of such differences as race, income, and ethnicity. In recognition of the 60th anniversary of this important event, there's an attached resolution that is presented to you for adoption by the Warren County School Board. And as you certainly are aware, Warren County does have quite a history as far as desegregation and I won't go into all that history, but I think at this point, I think it is, I would like to read the resolution for you to consider adoption. Whereas public education is essential to an informed citizenry, the foundation of our democratic society, and whereas access to a public education is the gateway to opportunity, our nation's promise to all, and whereas a public education for every citizen, regardless of race, religion, ethnic background, or economic circumstance, is a fundamental civil right under our form of government, and whereas on May 17, 1954, in an historic and unanimous decision, the United States Supreme Court in Brown versus the Board of Education ruled that public education is subject to the equal protection provisions of the United States Constitution. And whereas the court based its decision in major part on the premise that to separate children according to their race was unfair, diminishing their hopes and their future aspirations, and whereas the court's pronouncement in Brown versus the Board of Education validated the struggle and remarkable actions of the countless Americans who challenged the destructive effects of segregation in our society through peaceful, lawful means, and whereas the court's decision has had a profound, significant, and beneficial impact on all aspects of life in the United States, and whereas many areas of our nation are still struggling with how to remove the vestiges of segregation in education. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Warren County School Board in historic recognition that May 17, 2014 marks the 60th anniversary of the landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision in Brown versus the Board of Education, and be it further resolved that this resolution is to further a nationwide appreciation for the advancement of democratic principles through our system of law and justice, using the unanimous 1954 Supreme Court decision in the Brown versus the Board of Education as a touchstone. And be it further resolved that the contributions of civil rights leaders and volunteers, parents and students be recognized, and it is only through their courage, conviction, and sacrifice that Brown versus the Board of Education became a reality. And we ask that you consider and approve this resolution.
I move that the proposed resolution of the Warren County School Board, just read by our superintendent, commemorating the 60th anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Brown versus Board of Education, be adopted as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Approval of fiscal year 2015 budget.
I know my name is on that, but I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Ballantyne.
Okay, good evening. At the March 13th, 2014 regular meeting, the school board approved a fiscal year 2015 operating budget in the amount of $52,970,992 and a proposed cafeteria fund budget in the amount of $2,460,188. On April the 15th, 2014, the Warren County Board of Supervisors approved the school's fiscal year 2015 operating budget in the amount of $51,546,758, which you'll notice is less than what was requested, and you're aware of that. And the fiscal year 2015 cafeteria budget in the amount that was requested, which was the $2,460,188. The approved budget from the Board of Supervisors did include $500,000 increase in local funding. Because the budget is $1,434,234 less than the requested budget, reductions of this amount must be made in order to balance the budget. There's an attached budget sheet we'll get to here in a minute that lists some of the items that are recommended to be included in the final budget, as well as those items and priorities which are not able to be funded at this time. You will note when we get there that one of the items that was had to be removed was the 2% salary increase which you had requested, so the proposed budget does not include any proposed salary increase. It's recommended that the $500,000 increase for local funding be earmarked to increase the employer contribution for health insurance. However, it's also recommended that this amount not be specifically allocated in the budget right now. It be set aside until after the May 22nd, 2014 work session, at which the health insurance renewal and also the rates for the coming year will be discussed and hopefully approved by you. The other thing that's still hanging out there is the fact that the state has not approved a budget yet. So once the state budget is approved, it may be necessary to either increase or decrease the total budget depending on whatever the final amount of state funding is. So if you'll flip to the first sheet there, the first attachment, that gives you basically 4 different scenarios in state funding, albeit they are rather close in total dollars. The first amount shown there is the amount of the state budget that Governor McDonald proposed back in December. And that's what we've been using ever since we started the budget process, because that's all we had when we began. Governor McAuliffe has introduced his own budget bill, and it includes $133,600 more dollars for us, for Warren County, than what the previous governor's budget included. However, $92,521 of that additional increase he has earmarked for a 2% salary increase that would not go into effect until next April 1st. So really the $133,000 additional would have to be reduced by that, and then we, the school board, would need to come up with the local match to that in order to receive those funds. And I haven't really done the calculation on what that would be, but it would certainly be more than whatever is left in the additional state funding. The House has passed an amended budget, and it would actually reduce our revenue in comparison to what Governor McDonald proposed by $129,000, and then the Senate's amended budget would increase our funding by just $6,106, but again, it has that inclusion of a 2% salary increase next April 1st for employees. So I guess what I'm sort of, while there is a difference between the different versions that are out there, when you look at it in the total picture of our budget, it's not all that significant. And quite frankly, I don't think the budget's really the big hold up on getting, or the budget itself on getting it approved in Richmond. So I doubt that it'll be much of a change from one of these. So I think we're pretty comfortable going with what we have, realizing it may be slightly more, slightly less, and we would have to do some adjustments that hopefully are within our means in our total budget whenever that is decided.
Well, which one of these did you use in the revenue column?
Well, I used the Governor McDonald's, but the numbers don't match exactly for 2 reasons. Okay. They include some food service money. The state gives us a little bit money for lunch and for breakfast in there, so that's not included in that budget. And also, to compare to these other, the House and the Senate budgets, we didn't get a template where I can go in and adjust the average daily membership. So they're showing a little over 5,400 students. We're using 5,385, which is real close to where we were this year, and we were real close to that last year also. So just to show a comparison between those, I had to bump them all up to that higher ADM than what we feel comfortable using, just to give an apples-to-apples comparison between them. So that's why the number doesn't come out exactly as what's shown there for on that sheet as you move forward to that second sheet that does give us the breakout and details on our revenue. And again, the only change in that from what you had previously adopted is the fact that we had asked for a much larger increase in the county appropriation, and this reflects not that amount, but the $500,000 that the county has actually appropriated to us for the coming year. So the final sheet is sort of the budget summary. It brings forward the total projected revenue based on what the Board of Supervisors has appropriated to us at this time, and what we anticipate we would receive from the state should the budget that Governor McDonnell proposed be adopted. When we take all the existing positions, we don't add any, and of course we don't lose any, and roll those forward at the current salary levels, that gives you a total cost of $42,863,574. If we bring non-labor, all the rest of the budget forward at a level fund, that adds $8,104,998 for a total required expenditures of level funding everything of $50,968,572, which leaves us $578,186 of revenue in excess of those expenditures. So going down the list is what we had included in our proposed budget to the Board of Supervisors. The items with the lines crossed through them were reduced from that, and the first one you see is the 2% salary increase. We did leave in at this point in recommending to you the $500,000 cost for health insurance, the 2 additional shuttle bus drivers to get students back and forth to the tech center during the day. We reduced the amount of the increase for utility costs for 2 reasons. One, we needed to make the budget balance, so that's an area that, it can go either way depending on utility cost, heating, and things like that. And I did read where I think the town, I think this is correct, received an extra grant as far as the new sewage treatment plant. And I think there's discussion there that the rate increase that we used, that we thought was going to happen, may be less. I'm not sure how much less, but I think we're probably safe if we bump that number down. $17,000 increase for materials for the Blue Ridge Career Technical Center. You heard the gentleman speak tonight about the need for materials and things there for the students, and certainly that's something you've been aware of and has been brought to our attention, and this may be a modest step in that direction, but at least it is a step in that direction. The adult basic ed, the local match has gone up. To participate in that program, we'll need to increase that, as well as the tuition for the Mountain Vista Governor's School. So if you add those items up, they come up to the amount of that excess revenue we had, and that would produce a balanced budget for you. And I guess what we would like to do is, if you're able tonight, to approve this budget so that we will be able to go in the next step, approve salary scales, and the positions will be approved, the salaries will be approved, and we can issue contracts. And I will say this, all of our contracts have a caveat or a footnote on them that is based on funding, and that should the funding, in particular the state funding, not be what we expect, then we may have to adjust to that. Hopefully not, but just to cover us, since we don't have a state budget. And this isn't the first year that we've been at this point and not had a state budget to do that. So I will be glad to answer any questions after that quick review of the budget.
The things that Mr. Ballantyne and I have discussed and you see marked out in red, some of those, there may be a possibility once we get everything settled with budget. We particularly the math teacher, the additional math teacher, could possibly be funded with turnover in staff. So those things are not necessarily out of the budget at this point. There might be room for some of those things to to happen. Special ed contracted services is another one of those. And we found out very recently that the amount of federal dollars that we're going to receive is going to be more than we have in our revenue and expenditure
than other than us. So I'd rather take the $500 and split it up amongst all of our employees, let the ones that work for us, use it towards their health insurance here, give it in the form of a stipend to the others so they can have it, part of their household income to defray the increase of their health care costs. And that's why I don't want to support this.
The supervisors are not providing an increase in salary this year to their employees?
No.
They are not.
I just don't feel good doing something for only part of the staff, especially in recognition that everybody has, health care costs that they're required to pay.
My guess is, though, if it had not been earmarked for insurance costs, we might not have gotten the $500,000. Right? I mean...
I think the county pays a greater portion of their employees' health care.
And they saw that we
So
paid.
that's probably why they supported that.
Well, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth.
Well, I'm not saying that
I know.
I'm not saying that I don't support the total dollar amount.
Right.
What I don't support is the way that we're planning on spending it.
Right. But I don't
So
know
that's
if we
on our
have any
end.
wiggle room there.
Well, I mean, y'all can do what you want to do. I'm just telling you what I'm going to do.
No, I know. I'm just speculating if there's any wiggle room.
Well, the Board of Supervisors knows that in our presentation, to do a 2% increase was $752,000. They knew that we were going to have increased health care costs because they are too. And they also know that they're not going to give the county employees a raise. And they want to be able to keep things level, but they are going to have to do some increases in health care. And I think they set aside that $500,000 for that insurance. Being the appropriated body, they didn't give us the $752,000 because that's not where they wanted the money to go. And whether or not they want to say that they control the funding mechanisms, and discreetly, or however you want to put it, they sent a message with this budget, the way that they approved it, and where they wanted those funds to go. In my opinion. I agree with Ms. Athey, though. I'd like for all of our employees to be able to do that. But I think to a certain degree, our hands are tied with the way that this budget's been presented and approved by the appropriating body.
And I think that our superintendent is correct. I know there are other divisions where the county officials pretty much tell schools how to spend the money, where it should go. And this is, in my recollection, the first time that it has been earmarked for a certain place in our budget by the supervisors, and I've been here since 2004. So, we have a very good relationship with them. So obviously, I'm going to support this budget.
Well, the other counties that do that, that they spread the money across like 6 or 7 categories, one of which is not healthcare all by itself. So you would never even see this going on in another county.
No, I know, but
they would. I don't know what the categories are. I'm sure Rob probably knows what they are. But I'm just saying there is a distinction in terms of what the other counties do.
I think I've heard, too, that some go line by line when they look at a school budget, and that's never, just doesn't happen here, and I'm thankful for that.
Some boards of supervisors actually don't appropriate all at one time either. They they appropriate the dollars on a monthly basis to school boards or whatever, all the county functions.
And ours is appropriated in one.
A lump sum.
Lump sum annual basis.
Yeah.
Any other discussion or questions? Is there a motion?
I move that the fiscal year 2014-15 operating budget in the amount of $51,546,758 and the school cafeteria budget in the amount of $2,460,188 be approved as recommended.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of 2014-15 salary scales.
You have before you our proposed 2014-15 salary scales. They are the same salary scales. We have adjusted the numbers, the years of experience to go along with the steps, but the dollars remain the same. We'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Explain that to me. You've adjusted the
steps. If you have if the salary scale, teacher salary scale, for example, step one has a cluster of years of experience. If those salary scales have clusters of years of experience per step, then we have adjusted the number of years on that step. For instance, last year for 2013-14, step one was people with 0 and 1 year of experience.
Okay.
Next year it'll be 0 and 2 years of experience.
But we haven't
step
had
one.
a step increase in a few years.
We haven't had, no.
So,
That's why we keep having to adjust the years of experience
okay.
according to the step. At one point in time, we had a 0 to, in 20 steps, we had a 0 to 30 years of experience.
0 to 2 means they stay there, their 0 year,
The first
year
year.
that they're getting their first year experience. They stay there, then their second year when they're getting their, so they stay there 3 years. Yeah. So the people that thought that they were going to move on to step 2 next year get to stay there at that bottom one more time.
Correct.
But we haven't had a
Basically
step.
trapped everyone on the same step for
Right.
another year.
Just at that level, just step one.
No,
No,
every
every
step,
step.
every
Step.
step,
Every
every
single
step, all the way
Okay.
down the scale.
When you added one to the bottom one, then you had to go and add one to everyone the rest of the way.
Right. Because, yeah, we added the 40 years plus years for next year. Right. So we're asking that you approve these salary scales so we can get contracts started, please.
No, I don't want to make the motion.
I move that the 2014-2015 salary scales be approved as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Acceptance of donation.
Local 26 of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers and Dominion Electric Supply Company Incorporated have partnered to donate approximately $10,000 worth of supplies for the electricity class at the Blue Ridge Technical Center. In the packet, you will see an email from Ms. Rice advising us of the donation, the 3 thank you letters that she wrote to the donors, the Dominion Electric Company supply list of materials that were donated, and then the last thing is a photo of the our students and the donators of the information, of the materials. And we do appreciate all the work that the IBEW has done and continues to do, and the donations that they make. So we ask that you approve this donation, please.
I move that the Warren County School Board accept the donation of electrical supplies from Local 26 of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers and Dominion Electric Supply Company Incorporated with gratitude.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. That was a nice donation. Upcoming VSBA conferences, and then potential May 22nd agenda items. Make sure you look over those.
Let us know if there's anything you would like to add. If you think of something.
Okay. Any other?
Can we talk about substitutes and the training of substitutes to get more people approved and available? I've been getting a lot of feedback from teachers that they're having trouble getting subs because there's not a training class scheduled until like August or something.
I'm not sure that that's the reason they're not getting subs, but.
Okay, well, maybe it's that.
Because they're 130
Yeah, maybe
or
it's the
40
$55
on the-
daily rate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
maybe
can
you ought
add
to
it.
be taking that $500,000
Yeah, we'll
and
add
put it into
a
subs.
substitute conversation to the meeting.
Anything else to be added to that? Any other business? We need to go into closed session?
This motion is made that this open public meeting of the Warren County School Board become a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code, Section 2.2-3711. The school board desires to discuss the following matter in a closed meeting. Section 2.2-3711A1, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of an employee of the school board. Be it resolved that the School Board of Warren County does hereby authorize discussion and closed meeting of the matter identified herein.
Second.
Mr. Clerk, please call roll.
Mr. Boyles?
Yes.
Mrs. Sharefko?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Ms. Athey?
Yes.
Madam Chairman?
Yes. We are in closed session. Motion carries.